So at the beginning of the cycle, some people see nothing, right? It's a mucous membrane, so it's moist. But remember, this is the part where I often put my finger inside my mouth and say, it's a mucous membrane just like that, and then have everybody do that. Oh, it's moist. It's moist, but there's nothing you can pick up. And it goes away really fast.
I
Right?
picked something up.
Oh.
But I'm very juicy right now in general, so.
So, yeah. That normal moisture, we want to be able to represent like just a normal moisture that you might see on a mucous membrane. Funny enough, I had just touched this a little bit, I think, because when I did that, it had just a little bit of a little feeling to it. So this glue stick is really gooey. So what works best is if you take and we only need the teeniest little bits, okay? Because what you're gonna do is put some water with it. So could you bring one of those waters closer to me? And I put 3 out there so we'd all have. So take some of the glue stick and then take some of the water and mix it up. And then you'll have, I don't know what the angles will be on. I kind of feel like it should be the other way so I can see what I'm showing them. But what you'll have is a clear water. You can't see anything there, but it has a little bit of a stick to it. So try that. And we'll share. We could get more waters. I just put out 3, but then everyone needs a towel. Oh, I put the paper towels out. Okay, would you mind handing one to everybody, including me?
Yes.
And then we're going to also clean our fingers and hands with that water. So we want it to get dirty, in other words.
Yeah.
And one for me. And you can experiment with that glue stick in more or less of it, right? So what I first am trying to represent is baseline. So my favorite baseline representations are the inside of the mouth, just moisture, and then a little bit of that glue stick with some water to where it's just like a sticky moisture. But it's not really very significant. And again, you can't really pick up much. But you could take more of that glue, or glue with less water, and you could start making something that's more like a point of change. Mm-hmm. So this is where it gets tricky, where you don't know what any individual's point of change looks like. It might be that it goes from the inside of your mouth, or like this, like these things I'm showing. It could be that it goes just subtly into something that's very similar to that glue stick, but it's more of it, and you can actually pick it up, and that's your change. So for, baseline is it's the same every day. So it's just on and off that like moist, sticky stuff. Whereas then you take more of this, I'll pass it around again, and first of all, just the glue alone. Now, that's not right. Like if it starts doing this like thready thing, that's not quite exactly a cervical fluid we generally see. But like put a little bit of water with it, but leave it so there's white. Mm-hmm. So there's like actually something you could pick up, and it's definitely sticky. Mm-hmm. It's definitely, because you didn't put so much water that you washed it down. Like it's definitely sticky, and it's got some whiteness to it. So that's like another representation that would likely be somebody's point of change, but it could be somebody's baseline. They could see this all the time.
So question, if that was a point of change and you wiped it on this paper towel, wouldn't it just disappear? Like, I'm just still trying to understand how you could see a point of change on toilet paper.
Would it disappear because it's white and that's white?
Yeah, and then once it's on here, like say you've wiped and then you look at it, like it's not like you could still pick it up,
well,
right?
Hopefully you could. Like if I did that, I mean, I still, it depends on how much, but.
I mean, but if you've just like peed and, I don't know.
Like
Does
if
no one
I
else
touch
have
that, there's stuff there versus if it were just moisture, I wouldn't be able to find it at all. It would just be like pee on there that doesn't have any stick to it or any substance to it.
Okay.
I don't know if that helps. And then just, rinse your fingers off in these cups because we want them nice and dirty eventually. I see what your point is, though. Like, how would you see that? And it's one of the
especially when it's
reasons why we
subtle.
do a finger check, not just toilet paper check, because that would be harder to see on toilet paper. Whereas if you put your finger inside and then you look at it in contrast to your finger, you will see it. If you go like this, you'll feel it. So it's a reason why to do a finger check.
I don't know if I ever see a point of change on toilet paper, personally.
Yeah.
Sometimes
So-
I see shiny.
You do?
Yeah, shiny. Like when it's really like fertile, I can see it. So
I
can
think
we
if all
say
of the
that?
checks combined, that's like getting into the habit of doing, like you're checking presentation, you're looking, seeing if you can pick up a little bit of it.
Yeah, I feel like sensation.
Like it's all of those that, for me, because like one time I may see something here and then not there, or it might be on my underwear that time, but now I'm I mean,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I think that's a good reason why we want to do a finger check as well.
So can we tell them that, like, to see, in order to see your point of change, you'll probably need to do a finger check?
You might need to. I mean, because they don't necessarily. My point of change in my 40s has been usually it's like slippery fluid.
It goes straight in.
So I see it everywhere. I feel it. I see it. It's not hard to miss.
Okay.
So it depends on the person. But it might be that a finger check will be really helpful. So that's the time, if you're waiting for your point of change, that's the time where you want to be the most diligent about doing all the checks. Whereas once you've seen fertile fluid, like, sorry about that, I'll turn it off. Once you've seen fertile fluid, like, it doesn't matter so much if you're doing multiple checks a day because you're fertile. Whereas when you're waiting, you want to do all of them and you want to do them well so you don't miss anything. So now I have just glue, Elmer's glue, school glue it's called, and I'll pass that around. Actually, why don't you can get plenty out of there. And obviously this is more, and it's whiter, and it's still sticky. Now, I don't know if anybody will have anything quite this sticky, right? It's really sticky. But looking at it, doesn't that look like something you could see, right? And then put a little water with it. And then you've got something a little bit different that's not as sticky.
It's like the lotiony stuff.
Yep, a little more lotiony, right? So this is a great, the school glue is I can take this. Are you done with this one? The school glue is I think is a one you wouldn't want to not have. It's a good one because it has that sticky and it blends with water well, and you can combine it and make different combinations. And then I have basically like 5 different kinds of, in that range of creamy, milky. I have like 5 different things. So it's really about like what do you like? Where's that going to come out? Okay, this stuff I'll pass that around, and then this is it's a face wash that my friend Dinah makes. And what I like about this one is it dissolves really quickly. So it's white in the beginning, but then it's just gone. So again, I'm just giving you like ideas of products that might have different ways of working, that might present a little differently from each other. And on that same, where is it? Oh, it's down at the end already. There's another one. So this is again a face product. It's an apricot cream. And this one has a little more of this oily feeling to it. So it's not quite slippery, but it's oily. To think about the difference between slippery and oily. Right? Yep. Might even.
It's almost like a little luteal in its color too, actually.
You're right, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got a little bit of, it's less white. And that's the other thing about finding different products. So, I mean, I've just always, like, I notice when I have a new product or somebody else's product, like, what, you know, how it relates. And yeah, you're right. I didn't think of that though. This one's a little less pure white, and that's nice because we don't make like super pure. I don't make super pure white. And this one too goes away eventually and absorbs in, where some of them don't, like the yogurt doesn't. So here's a yogurt. I'll pass this whole thing around. And what I love about doing a little jar of yogurt is that it turns into, you know, it separates. A yogurt separates. Oh, I keep forgetting to show the screen. That was the one of the beauty
the
products, the wash. And then yogurt can be like more like clumpy, thick, right? But then it separates in the little jar, and then you have, especially if you leave it overnight, and then you have like milky right there. You've got milky. You can show people milky because that's when you're heading right in between little f and big F. Milky is the, you know, is a common experience. But like the yogurt it's got that sort of, it's not smooth. It's more clumpy, thick.
Yeah.
It makes little peaks like that, right?
Yeah.
So that I think is, do people have stuff like this?
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you have fluids like that?
I've just recently started classifying stuff as milky. I hadn't really thought of using that term before, but I've been seeing it.
It has more water content because you're moving more into estrogen. So it has more of whatever that one was, which I never can remember, whether that's G or S or L. I'm really bad at remembering the letters. But it has more of the water content to it. There's one of those ones, when you remember learning the odor bloods, there's one that, it was Becky's talk, one that makes it more watery, one that makes it more slippery. And those come at a certain time, and they both play an important role, but they also can be combined with all the other ones. So you could mix a little bit of one with a little bit of the other one, and that's what I usually have people do at the end, is just come over here and like mix it up. You know, try a little bit of different things and see what that looks like. So this one smells good.
I think it's G is progestin.
You're right.
Influence of progesterone.
That's right.
I think
Progest.
I think L is the one that is produced during follicular, but it does more so like the trapping of funky sperm or weak sperm
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
And then I think the S is our superhighway.
Swimming
one.
lanes, superhighway.
I think so. I think I'm like pretty sure.
So this one could also be more like luteal phase because it's got this yellowish tone. But I also show it now because I don't know that I want everybody's finger in this one. I'm gonna put some. So think of this as either a luteal phase representation or it's moving more towards its slippery. But I think it's definitely good for that yellowish color. And this is just a homemade salve that, because it has, you know, probably the plantain and the comfrey, it's this color. Right?
So unlike the way these things absorb, like it would be good to say cervical fluid won't
Just,
absorb,
into your skin.
right?
Like the lotion.
Oh, you're right.
Would that be good to say?
Yeah, that would be good to say.
That it'll like
But it will, I
it'll
mean, you could,
it'll sit for
it'll sit for a little while. That's a
while.
good point. Yeah, it doesn't really, so maybe that's showing us that these aren't the best, these two aren't the best representations.
Like this one is sticking around.
This one
'cause
sticks
it's-
around.
Pretty sticky.
Yep. And yeah, it's got a stickiness to it, but it's also clear. What does that tell us? Moving more,
Yeah,
almost
true.
has stretch.
Yeah.
Moving
Very
more
nice
towards,
Oh, did you mix
What?
it with
Get
one?
this,
Very nice.
like right before
Right?
it becomes the egg white. Like I get this kind
Yeah,
of
me
like
too.
cloudy stretch.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
cloudy stretch.
cloudy stretch.
Yeah.
Just a little stretch.
And this one's hard to get off in water because it's very oily.
I rubbed it in.
Oh,
You could just rub it in, right?
Sorry, the
You
water
might get a
doesn't
little
that
yogurt
one.
in there
Yeah.
too, but that's okay. Actually, I don't need to do this one because it's very similar to another one. This is actually a conditioner though. So that's another option, and it has that oily feeling to it. It's not quite white. So it's very, very similar to the last two that we did, but it will stick around a little bit more. it's really not that much different than everything else, but I'm just trying to give you ideas of different products that might work. And then we're shifting more towards estrogen. And this ointment. So I used to have a homeopathic arnica that was a clear ointment. This is not a clear ointment. It's a slightly cloudy ointment. And so it doesn't have exactly the same as what I liked about that clear one, but it's close to clear. I might try to get more of that. I'll put some more in there. But this is like totally different in that it's way more close to clear. You can barely has color. It's still sticky. I don't know. You tell me, where do you think this one lands in your spectrum? Because now that I'm doing it,
Yeah,
I'm
this
like,
is like a little closer to almost my baseline.
yeah, I'm just noticing that. I think because I got a different one, that I had a different one this
I
time.
know that brand that you're talking about, and the arnica one is
Yeah.
like really goopy.
Yeah, it's more
and,
like KY.
and like
Yeah.
really clear, and yeah.
Yeah, it's definitely more like KY. Yeah, okay, so that's a new one I threw in there. That should have been over here.
That's actually very
Right?
close to my baseline. with
Okay,
that.
good. We just
That's like-
discovered something. This one is Hem Calm Ointment. So this is very much closer to the beginning, to a baseline and to sticky. Nice, thank you.
Thanks.
It does stand up.
Oh yeah, it does.
So that I think that's all that are within that. Either some might be big F, but we're now going to move definitely into big F. And this is a classic one. I've had this since my midwifery days, but totally classic. Capital F, gooey, slippery, clear. So I know it's a petroleum product, and I wouldn't buy it now, but I had it, and so I kept it.
Kinda like that.
You know, maybe you can find one in an estate sale. Do you guys ever go to estate sales?
Oh, yeah.
I'm all about estate sales. You get the randomest day-to-day things.
You find
Like,
KY jelly at the
you
store?
could, yeah, like
Right.
people give away their whole
It's good
bathroom
for
at the
body.
estate sales here. Like their whole bathroom is just available.
You'd never find KY jelly in a New England estate sale.
They would hide that very quickly.
Oh, that's funny.
It's like antique
Shame.
furniture.
Yeah.
Right. Well, I guess they're different here. You get everything out of all the cupboards in the kitchen and out of the bathroom cupboards, and I got a 6-pack of dental floss for $1 last week. Okay, so this is one of my favorite for super fertile. It's a really good one,
Oh, yeah.
right? And then this didn't really work. I think that.
The chia seed experiment.
Yeah, flax. This one
Or
sucks. But
flax.
you can, if you dig your hands in there, what you can tell is that it's slippery.
Yeah.
I wanted it, maybe if I'd ground some of them. Oh, wait,
That
did
was
you
pretty
see that?
good. Yeah.
Yeah, that like where
I
it,
think you put too much water in. So.
I put too much water in for the amount of seeds.
It's chia
That's the problem.
estrogenic.
But you get the idea,
kinda
and you
think
could
that
probably
sometimes
master
it
it.
is like
sometimes
that.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
sometimes it is super watery.
Yeah.
At least
Right.
And
for
yet
me.
it has,
Yeah.
do you feel it's got a glide to it? Even though it's
That
I feel like that's
Yeah.
accurate.
Slick and
Okay,
slick.
I really
okay.
do.
I have sometimes, yeah, like super watery.
Yeah, it'll be like, oh yeah, I can see some, but then there's just a
Yeah.
lot
Like
of
a
water, and I
gush.
feel like there's water running down.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like a
There's
gush.
moisture
Yeah.
on my inner thighs. I'm like,
Yeah, and yet it's got a
It does
slide
have
to
that
it.
slick-
Actually, sometimes mine doesn't. Sometimes mine is literally
Like
this one, which I'll get to in a second, literally like that. But sometimes it's like that. It has a little slide to it, but it's mostly watery. And then I have an aloe, and of course that does really well too,
yeah, this
with the stretch.
wow.
That looks so,
That's good.
You
Yeah.
can just keep tearing it open
That
as you need to
looks really.
as you go around. Not one of
Realistic.
Oh my
those
gosh,
ones
that's,
Yeah.
so, that's
Yeah.
the best.
Yeah.
she got like a 6-inch stretch there.
Whoa.
Yeah.
But it's
She's
thinner.
ready
It's
to go.
thinner and way different than
Mm-hmm.
this one, right? Which I'll do next.
Yum.
Yeah.
So how I do
Oh my gosh,
this
that's so funny.
is,
Yes.
ooh,
Yeah.
is I try to just catch.
Give it
And
to me
I
now.
like doing it in front of the group, right? Because then you get to watch this business.
Yeah, that is accurate.
Right?
That feels like.
And I love how eggs have this. Catch
Oh,
that.
Oh yeah.
Look at that.
Yeah.
The white, cloudy white
Uh-huh.
clump that you might not even be able to
Yeah.
separate from the yolk, but I'll try. Like that? Does anybody see that? I see that.
Yeah, yeah.
Oops, and I got a flaxseed in there.
Definitely.
I didn't mean for that to happen.
Yeah.
Or is that a
it's
little
like-
blood thing from, you know, sometimes you get the little blood things too in your
Yeah,
egg,
that totally looks like it.
right? You guys find that? It would be cool if I cracked it and it was one of those that had the little
It
blood.
does. It does. It has a little.
It does?
Yeah, a little spot.
And then somebody wants to have that for lunch. The extra, although not that my hands were pure. So, you know, this is the best if you can catch the thing.
Yeah.
Which I'm not going to let you guys go with that, but
Yeah, look, there's a little spot.
Yeah.
So since I farm slugs, I got a slug.
you did.
Slug slime. Yeah.
Oh my god.
For mine.
That's great.
Yeah.
How did you capture it? Or did you just have it sitting there?
Oh, I mean, all you
moving?
do is step outside and there's like a million of them.
But like, what did you represent it on when you were doing the?
I just like got the slime off. Like
You
I
just took it off
yeah,
on your
just took it
finger
off.
and showed it.
Yeah.
That's great. That's awesome. And then one of my other favorites from this time is,
Oh,
I
yeah.
think I mentioned this to you guys that I use this. It's those little things that come on your back of your credit card that attach it to
yeah.
the paper. And
It's really good.
what I think about these in terms of this spectrum is that it's super fertile that's dried up, and you find it in your underwear, in your pubic hair, and it's not quite like this, but it's not all that different either. Has anybody seen that? Like you see
Yeah.
little globs,
Yeah.
and they have that stretchy quality to them, but they're dried up. It's like the water got sucked out.
You think that's because like you're dehydrated or something?
Could be, or it could be that it hung out somewhere and dried up.
Uh huh.
I see
Like-
that gumminess in the beginning.
In the
Usually,
beginning,
that's like that
Yeah.
can sometimes be my point of change.
Okay, so what that could be is that it was in your cervix as in your luteal phase when everything was all held up there, and then as things open in the fertile wave, sometimes people get like, it's almost like the plug, the stuff that
It's
was
like
up there that's a little
coming out.
less alive or fresh. It's not newly made. It was there before from
It's
that.
not yellow because I do notice like a yellowy color in the
Okay.
luteal phase, so it's
Yeah.
clear. It's very clear.
What do
but
you
it's
think?
Like
What do you
gummy.
think? You just think it's some mixture of your estrogen.
Yeah, yeah, because I feel like
Types.
sometimes I go from like that gummy, tacky to then like a more lotiony, and then to like slippery, watery.
Mm-hmm.
That could be like
Yep.
sometimes how it goes.
Yep. Anybody else see that? The gummy
I do.
little
Yeah, I
balls?
see gummy.
When do you see it?
I see it sometime either before I start seeing the egg white or sometime after.
Okay.
Yeah. So into luteal, like early luteal phase,
Yep.
or sometime it's before I see the egg white, so I'll see a little more gummy.
Yep. What about you, Jessie?
Pretty much the same. Yeah.
Okay.
And what you were just saying about like kind of like residual. I'm curious, wouldn't that come out in our menstruation
Yeah.
from the cycle before?
Well, in theory, yes, but menstruate. I mean, it depends on. I don't know how your cervix works. Was that a knock?
I think it goes to check.
Oh, okay. But there's a way that the at the point of change with estrogen that your whole cervix is being activated. All the crypts are starting to be activated. And menstruation doesn't do that. It opens. That the cervix opens for the menstrual flow, but there's something that happens if you can just imagine, like energetically, that all those crypts are like waking up and starting to. So that's how I think of it, but that's not a scientific explanation. And I'm going by the fact that I hear people say, I feel like at the end of my period or right when my point of change starts, like there's this little clump of something.
Yeah.
And they'll call it different things, but it's like a little, and then I'm in, like maybe they get it right at the beginning of their early infertile days, but then they have baseline for the next 4 days, and then their fertile window starts. Yeah. So that's an explanation that is only a guess. I can't say for sure. That it could be left over and it just got activated by either the flow of the blood happening or by the beginning of the fertile window. I'm just making that up. Maybe Eric Odeblad would have something to say about it. I'm sure he would. He's dead, right?
From that grave.
We can't ask him. We could ask him in the dream time to answer that question for us.
What you got?
Tell us. Okay, and so then, what else? We got everything. So then would be this one. So, simply, cloudy water. Cloudy water that doesn't have it doesn't feel stretchy or slick or anything. It just is wetness and you feel it dripping out. And if you try to touch it, it just feels like water on your skin and it's gone like that. And it doesn't meet that rule of, that it separates in water or that it doesn't go away. It doesn't meet that rule. It's an exception to that rule. When I first started teaching, people didn't talk about water, right? And it's only been in the last 10 years or so that teachers have started talking about it. I don't know why.
Yeah, I was going to say, do you know why that would be?
I don't. Maybe talking about it more and understanding the nuance, like that it doesn't apply to but I mean, it is watery. It's water.
Yeah. Well, and I the reference of teachers and programs that was communicating in communication 10, 20, 15 years ago was smaller and more local. So now we have the whole global community. And Billings is the United States, but it's out of Australia first, but it wasn't part of it. So I like the communication was more between symptothermal practitioners in the United States. And so I bet Billings might have been teaching about watery all along. Maybe even the European models were teaching about it. I don't know. But where I was teaching, it wasn't really talked about. And I just was seeing it in my clients. And so when Kandara was created, they didn't have watery on there. And I actually suggested that they put watery on there, and they did. And I don't remember when it went into Tony Weschler's book, but I kind of feel like it wasn't there in the beginning. And at some point. So I'm just talking, in this part of the world.
That's so weird to me because watery is like a fluid I see every single, that's a consistent one for me, and a lot of other ones aren't, actually.
It's very consistent for me as well.
Yep, me too.
I
So
don't see watery so much.
Yeah.
I've been seeing it more.
It's so funny.
yeah, right?
Different.
Different. And then I did bring a little bit of turmeric, which I have not found my favorite luteal coloring. I've used just a regular standard mustard, like the brighter yellow kind, and mixed it with like yogurt or something so that it's not quite, because it's not very yellow, right? It's only a little. So like this turmeric, you don't really want much in there. But this is the point at which you all should just come down here and start playing around with mixing different things.